All right, so let's get right into it. You want to get rich quick in a year? Huh? That's a pretty ambitious goal. We're going to look at some high-stakes investments, but just remember...
No guarantees.
Right, exactly. Think of this like we're exploring the possibilities and some of the risks, too. 7 different paths to riches based on your research.
Exactly, and especially when we're talking fast returns, there's always going to be risk.
For sure. Okay, first up, we got to talk about crypto. It's been super buzzy lately.
Yeah.
And there are definitely some crazy stories about people making tons of money.
But crypto is like a roller coaster. It can be up one day and way down the next.
Like Bitcoin? I
Yeah,
remember that.
exactly. You really got to do your homework before jumping into crypto.
So it's more than just picking a cool name.
Oh, yeah. You got to understand how it works, like tokenomics and all that. That's the economics of how the crypto is created and managed.
Makes sense.
That's how you get an idea of its actual value. And if you're looking at Bitcoin, think about dollar cost averaging. Basically, you invest a set amount regularly. Over time, it can help smooth out those price swings.
So you're not buying high and selling low.
Right.
Okay, so crypto's a bit risky.
Mhm.
What about something a little less volatile?
Let's talk stocks, but not just any stocks. We're talking about growth sectors, AI, electric vehicles, renewables.
Oh yeah, those are hot right now.
Those are the companies that are really changing the game.
So how do you pick the winners?
You got to look beyond the hype and focus on the fundamentals. Like, are these companies actually making money?
Got it.
Do they have products that solve real problems? Those are the things that really matter.
So you're saying it's not just about following trends.
Right.
Okay, cool. And what about actually buying stocks?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
There are platforms like Robinhood or eToro. They're great for beginners.
I've heard of those.
But even with these high-growth companies, it's important to diversify your portfolio. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
So don't bet everything on one company.
Exactly. Spread the risk around.
Gotcha. So you can diversify within those growth sectors.
Yeah. That way you can balance the potential for big wins with managing the risk.
All right, so we've got crypto, we've got stocks. What about something a little more tangible?
Real estate. It's been a wealth-building strategy forever for a reason.
I've always thought about flipping houses.
The potential's definitely there. And rentals can give you consistent cash flow, but it usually takes a good chunk of money to get started.
So it's not as easy as those TV shows make it seem.
Not quite. It's really important to understand the local market. What are people looking for? Are prices going up or down?
That's a lot to think about.
Yeah, it can get complicated.
What about working with someone who knows what they're doing?
Partnering with experienced investors is a great way to go, especially for beginners. They can teach you a lot.
Like a mentor.
Exactly. Real estate is often a team sport.
Okay, cool. So we've covered real estate. But what if you want to get in early on something really new and innovative?
Then you're talking about startups. This is where you can be like a venture capitalist, investing in companies that are just starting out.
That sounds exciting.
It can be, but remember, most startups don't make it. You should only invest what you're okay with losing.
I hear ya. So where do you even find these startups?
There are platforms like AngelList and Seed Invest. They connect you with startups that are looking for funding.
Okay.
But it's important to be picky. Look at the team running the startup. Do they have experience? Are they passionate about what they're doing?
So it's more than just a cool idea.
It's about the people behind it. And look for startups that are solving real problems. Those tend to do better in the long run.
Right, because if they're not solving a problem, then...
Who needs it?
Yeah, exactly. We've talked about real estate, which is very hands-on. But what about building a business completely online?
E-commerce. That's where you can really scale things up. You can create your own online store or use platforms like Amazon FBA.
So you're saying you could reach customers all over the world?
Exactly. And if you find the right niche, you can grow your business really fast.
So how do you find that perfect niche?
Tools like Jungle Scout or SEMrush can help. You can analyze the market and see what's selling well.
So you're saying do your research?
Oh, definitely. Don't just jump in blindly. You got to understand the market, the competition, your target audience, all that stuff.
All right, so e-commerce is all about data and strategy.
Pretty much.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we've covered a lot. But what if you're looking for something even faster paced, more exciting?
Let's talk trading Forex options futures. These markets move really quickly. You can make or lose a lot of money in a short amount of time.
Okay, this sounds a little intense.
It's definitely high stakes, but it's not gambling. It requires skill and knowledge. You got to understand technical analysis, risk management, and be disciplined.
So you got to know what you're doing.
Exactly. And before you start trading with real money practice with a demo account, that way you can get a feel for it without risking your own cash.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about some of the more common paths to wealth, but what about something a little more out there?
Let's get into alternative investments. Things like NFTs tied to big brands, or even collectibles like rare art, wine, vintage sports cards.
NFTs, that's a whole other world.
It is. And it's all about scarcity and demand. You got to make sure what you're buying is authentic.
So how do you know if it's real?
Do your research.
Yeah.
Look for reputable sources. Get things verified. It's really important to be careful because trends change quickly. What's valuable today might not be tomorrow.
So it's a bit of a gamble.
It can be. You got to be comfortable with that.
Okay, so we've talked about 6 different paths to wealth. Each one has its own risks and rewards.
Yep,
But no matter what you choose, it seems like knowledge is key.
absolutely. You got to do your research before you invest in anything.
That's what this deep dive is all about.
Yeah.
And I think another important thing to consider is how much risk you're comfortable with.
Yeah, your risk tolerance is going to play a big role in which path you choose and how you approach it.
All right, so we've got a lot to think about with these 6 paths to wealth.
Right.
And the next part, I want to dig deeper into those risk factors and some other things to keep in mind.
It's pretty amazing how many different ways there are to build wealth these days.
Mhm.
I mean, we've gone from the traditional stuff like stocks and real estate to all these new digital things and online businesses.
Yeah, it's kind of overwhelming. How do you even know where to start?
Well, the first thing is to figure out your risk tolerance.
Yeah.
Are you okay with big ups and downs like we see with crypto, or do you prefer something more predictable?
It's like choosing the difficulty level in a video game. Right.
Exactly. And just like in a game, you need different skills for each level.
And I guess it's also important to remember that getting rich takes time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Building wealth sustainably, it takes patience, discipline, and a willingness to learn and adapt.
So it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where does education fit into all this?
Well, I think it's super important to learn as much as you can before you invest in anything.
Absolutely. Don't just jump into something because it's trendy or someone told you it was a good idea.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way when I first started investing.
Oh yeah.
I picked a stock based on how much I liked their logo.
You and me both. We've all been there. But the good news is there are so many resources available now. Online courses, books, podcasts like this one.
It's like having a whole library at your fingertips.
Exactly. You don't need a fancy degree to become a smart investor.
That's good to know. What about getting advice from someone who's already successful?
Having a mentor can be incredibly valuable. They can help you avoid mistakes and learn from their experiences.
Yeah, it's like having a shortcut to success.
In a way. Speaking of mistakes, let's talk about scams. They're everywhere in the investment world.
Oh yeah, my inbox is full of them. Promises of guaranteed returns.
Yeah, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
That's a good rule of thumb. So how can you tell if something is legit or a scam?
You got to do your research. Look into the investment, the company, the people involved. Look for any red flags, anything that seems fishy, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
So it's like being a detective.
Exactly. You got to protect your money.
You mentioned diversification earlier. Why is that so important?
Imagine putting all your money into one thing and then it crashes. That's why you got to spread your investments around. Different asset classes, different sectors, even different countries.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. It's like having a balanced breakfast for your investments.
I like that analogy. So where do you even begin with diversification?
You can start small,
Yeah.
maybe put a little bit in crypto, a little bit in high growth stocks, and then keep some in more stable investments.
So it's all about finding that balance.
Right. And you can adjust it as you learn more and get more comfortable.
What about diversifying beyond just investments?
That's a great point. It's also smart to have multiple streams of income.
So you're not relying on just one job.
Exactly. You could have a side hustle, some passive income, or even start your own business.
It's like having a backup generator for your finances.
That's a great way to put it. And while we're talking about financial safety, let's not forget about managing expenses.
It's easy to get caught up in making more money, but what you do with it is just as important.
Exactly. It's not about how much you earn, it's about how much you keep.
So create a budget, track your spending, and look for ways to cut back.
It's like decluttering your finances.
Yeah, get rid of all the junk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the why behind your desire to get rich. What are your goals? What do you want to do with your wealth?
Because money is just a tool, right?
Exactly. It's what you do with it that matters. So are you dreaming of early retirement, traveling the world, starting a business, or maybe giving back to your community?
All great goals.
And knowing your why can help you make better financial decisions.
Like if you want to retire early, you might focus on investments that create passive income.
Right. Or if you're passionate about a cause, you could invest in companies that align with your values.
Your why is like a compass.
It guides you in the right direction. And remember, your why can change over time, too.
That's true. Life is always changing.
Yeah.
And as your priorities change, your financial goals might change too.
Absolutely. So it's good to check in with yourself every now and then and make sure you're still on the right track. Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to talk about something that often gets overlooked: mindset.
Mindset. How does that relate to money?
It's more important than people think. Your beliefs and attitudes can really affect your financial success.
So you're saying if you don't believe you can be wealthy, you probably won't.
It's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's important to cultivate a positive money mindset. Believe in yourself and your ability to create wealth.
And how do you do that?
Challenge those negative thoughts. Surround yourself with positive people and be open to learning and growing.
It's like rewiring your brain for success.
Exactly. And remember, wealth creation isn't just about the numbers. It's about aligning your thoughts, beliefs, and actions with your goals.
So it's a holistic approach.
Exactly. Like building a house, you need a strong foundation and the right materials.
Okay, so we've covered a lot in this deep dive, from different paths to wealth, to the importance of mindset.
It's a lot to take in.
But this is just the beginning, right?
Exactly. The real learning starts when you put these ideas into action.
So what's the next step for our listener?
Pick a path that excites you. Do your research and start small. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how you learn.
And remember to keep your why in mind.
That's your motivation. That's what will keep you going when things get tough.
Because, let's be real, building wealth is not always easy.
But with the right knowledge, tools, and mindset, you can achieve anything.
It's all about enjoying the journey.
Exactly, and creating a life that you love.
We've given our listeners a lot to think about, a lot of different options.
Yeah, like a whole toolkit for building wealth.
Exactly. But they get to decide which tools are right for them and how they want to use them.
That's the fun part, and there's no right or wrong answer. What works for one person might not work for someone else.
We've explored 7 different paths to wealth. Each one is unique. But I think the most important thing to remember is that it's not just about money.
It's about using money as a tool to create the life you want.
Right, to achieve your goals and live a life with purpose. So for our listener who's ready to take action, what's your final piece of advice?
Remember, there are no guarantees when it comes to investing. But if you arm yourself with knowledge, develop a solid strategy, and cultivate a positive mindset, you'll be setting yourself up for success.
It's like setting sail on an adventure. You might not know exactly where you'll end up, but the journey itself can be amazing.
Exactly. And don't forget to enjoy the ride.
This deep dive has given us a lot to think about. And it's made me realize that the pursuit of wealth can be a journey of self-discovery.
It's true. You learn a lot about yourself when you step outside of your comfort zone and chase your dreams.
So as you continue your own exploration of wealth creation, remember that it's not just about the destination. It's about the journey and the person you become along the way.
And who knows, you might find that the greatest wealth comes from pursuing your passions and making a difference in the world.
That's a great point. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us today.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, we wish you all the best on your journey to financial abundance and a life well lived.